Hey everybody, welcome to our first blind tasting online. I definitely feel a little bit weird doing this, but I am excited about it. So hopefully some people have been able to tune in. Maybe if you are tuned in, you could write a comment and let me know so I can kind of see that there's some people out there. And yeah, I can see 5 people up here in my little screen. But yeah, Kate is on, just making sure this is actually working, since it's the first one. And also I will go ahead and say that I decided to do it here in the shop. I was going to go next door and sit outside, but it seemed like risky as far as like using my phone as a hotspot. So I'm here in the shop, but consequently you're going to hear real live noises of the shop operating in its new incarnation. So Colin's scrambling to answer the phone and answer the tablet and talk to customers at the door while I'm upstairs doing this. So thank God for Colin. And I know that a lot of y'all have blind tasted with Colin and me. And we really can't wait to have y'all back in the shop again and be blind tasting up here at the bar where, yes, I'm seated at the bar where so many of y'all have been. And we just look forward to the day when y'all can be in here again. But, I'm excited to explore these new avenues as well. I mean, I think it's something, that I don't know if I'll continue to do live blind tastings down the road, but at least doing some more online material for folks that want to learn about wine, because that is my great passion, is teaching folks about wine. In this way, through things like YouTube, we can, reach so many more people. And I think that the blind tasting actually should work pretty well online, and appreciate everyone who came and got their wine. But I think it's probably going to be interesting even if you were just, listening along to learn a little bit. But as far as y'all that came and got your 2 bottles of red wine, I'm hoping that y'all will participate a little bit and give me some feedback, just like y'all were sitting up here with us. So yeah, without further ado, we will get started. And from here on out, I'm going to just treat this just like I would any of our blind tasting experiences. Because I know that there are some of y'all who have participated in the past, but there are some people I think that have maybe not made it in for a blind tasting. So I'll just give you the brief rundown. So blind tasting, I mean, we always say blind tasting, but it really is blind evaluation, because there is more to it than just looking, than just tasting the wine. There's looking at the wine, and it's much nicer and it's not so intimidating. And so that we're going to walk through that today. Hopefully everyone has, a pen and paper to take some notes in proper wine nerd fashion. And hopefully you also have in a restaurant one day when you can be back in a restaurant. It's that ability to describe has been very useful, actually. I see somebody says screen is freezing for us. Hopefully, is everyone else still on? And it's saying that I'm live. I don't see any issue here, but I'll just keep talking. We're still in the intro part. So, maybe just check your Wi-Fi, I hope. Let me see. I think it should. Sometimes there is a slight delay. I think just give it. Yeah, I was about to say, when we did this with Leoco a couple weeks ago, there was a couple of points because we watched along that there was just a slight delay. So, it's technology. Hopefully it will not do that too often. So anyways, moving on to what I was saying, that it's actually been very helpful for folks to be able to describe what it is they really like and dislike in wine during this time, because we're basically, I don't have people in the shop. I don't have y'all in the shop being able to tell me what it is, and taste a wine, me taste you on something and say, oh, I like this or I don't like it. So it's helpful now for when people are emailing or calling that they can say, this is what I'm really looking for. So hopefully, if nothing else, that's what you'll walk away today with, is the ability to say, this is what I'm looking for in a wine. All right, but everybody has a glass of water handy too. I mean, I certainly need it from talking so much, but also to take a sip. Once we start tasting the wine, taking a sip in between is important. And really, kind of just cleansing your palate. And we'll get into why that's important. But first things first, let's take a look at the wine. So I'm going to kind of push my screen back a little bit. And so I have my two wines right here. And what I like to do, see if I can even show you a little bit better. I like to hold them out over a sheet of paper like this at a 45-degree angle. And especially over, over the sheet that I gave you, the sheet that has the notes on it, so that you can look and see if you can read through the wines. And also just taking a look at the difference in the color between the two wines. So, because when we're looking at sight, we're talking about the actual color, just like when we think about a color wheel. And then we're also thinking about the concentration. So who can tell me champagne is made from red grapes, but most of champagne is white. So if you just don't let it spend any time on the skins, you can make a white wine from red grapes. But the thing is, with these reds, we're talking about whether the grape skins are thick or thin. And this is where we do need some theoretical knowledge. And I'd say that I always say the sight portion of this is the nerdiest portion. I mean, you're probably never going to go into a wine shop and say, I love a really deep concentration of color in my red wine. But this is the part also that's actually the nerdy part that you can easily impress your friends with. So thin skin grapes will have a lighter concentration of color in the wine. Thick skin grapes will have a darker concentration color. Makes sense. But then you kind of need to know the theoretical knowledge is Gamay. Those, I'd say the most famous. Pinot Noir is the most famous thin skin grape. Everyone's heard of Pinot Noir. Gamay, you might not be as familiar with, but it's actually, this is where this comes in handy, this whole blind evaluation. If you like Pinot, there's a good chance you're going to like Gamay, because they're actually very similar in terms of a lot of these things we're going to go through. There are also some other grapes that they lose their color really quickly. They have thicker skins, but they lose their color. It's just a scientific thing very quickly. There's two famous Italian grapes that are like this, and they are Nebbiolo and Sangiovese. Nebbiolo is the star red grape of the Piedmont region of Italy. Sangiovese is the star red grape of the Tuscany region of Italy. So we do have to always keep those in mind if we're looking at a like current vintage youthful wines. And sorry if my computer dings. I didn't get to turn off all the text message alerts, but we're going to get now into the more fun part. That's enough about thinking about the sight on it. Although people do always ask me, they always ask about the tears or legs, and that is when you're going to roll the wine around in your glass and notice it forming. But I don't bring that up a lot anymore, because here we do keep the wines in the cellar, which I told everybody slightly imperfect, but hopefully it quits doing that, because we're getting into the fun stuff now. And I kind of thought YouTube was the best way to do this, but maybe not. That's why we tried it once. We are going to get into nose, smelling the wine. And I think that, hopefully all of y'all, I asked, you to open the wines in advance, at least like a few hours in advance. For one thing, it's nice to let them breathe a little bit and open up. But also I was like, I'll try to move. Let's try to move over and maybe it won't buffer. But I actually have been in the same spot before for Zoom. Is it seeming to work now? Is it still buffering? I'm going to keep talking and y'all can let me know. So what I was going to say though is hopefully y'all all opened them, and I wanted you to make sure they were not corked. Which cork is, it's a flaw in a wine, cork taint. And it is you really can just tell by smelling it. And that is because people are like, think they're saying they like or dislike the wine. It's more about saying, I mean, it's a ritual saying, yeah, this is good. It's not corked. And that would be the first thing that we're getting when we smell these wines. And so, of course, I smelled them earlier today. They're definitely not corked. And I'm guessing I haven't heard from any of y'all that y'all's were not corked either. There are other flaws for sure, but I would say, you know, during normal operation here at the exchange, I mean, we'll end up with a few corked wines a month. We open up a lot of wine, so it's not a crazy amount. Versus there are other flaws, but those flaws are like a couple of times a year. So cork taint, which comes from this chemical compound in the cork, is the most common flaw in a wine. Okay, so we know these are both clean wines. Clean is how we describe them in Wine Nerd Talk. Now let's get into actually smelling them and talking about what we're getting on the nose. So let's just, I like to take a little sniff of each one. So take a little sniff of number one without, I like to take a sniff without swirling. It smells really, number one smells very good. Number two is also smells good, but smells very different. And I mean, I see it, some people are still having, is everyone having issues with buffering? I only see like there's a couple of people, so I don't know if it's just, you know, a couple of people having issues with buffering. Anybody else buffering issues? Kate? So I'm going to move y'all around with me further around the bar. And y'all can get more views of the shop. So I'm going to, keep chatting. And I mean, if it gets really bad, I will just try to start it over. That would do any good. But let's just keep talking about the wines, which is more fun. So wine number one, and when we talk about smell, I think that can be tricky because I think most people think that they have a really bad sense of smell, or they don't think they have a great sense of smell. They think that sommeliers have some magic trick, and that's just not the case. It's all very learned. It's all through practice. I mean, I do know that, you know, if you have sinus issues, that can really affect your sense of smell. And I've actually lost my sense of smell before, and it was pretty scary. And it was not, I didn't even have congestion. It was a nerve thing, you know, from a sinus infection. I see that everyone, hold your horses, and I'm going to start it over.